Hello and welcome to Maya Katha once again. And this is Meera Venkatesan bringing you a story for today. Well, my story is all about an old man. What could be so interesting about an old man, you might ask me? Let me tell you. There was this old man who was, of course, at the time young. He had three sons. Very good sons. There is no twist here. All the three of them were very good and they loved their father dearly. And they were all talented in different ways. So the father had a problem. He thought, whom can I give all my wealth to when I pass away and reach the heavenly abode? That was tough because all three of them were equally deserving. So he called his three sons and said, I want all of you to go out into the world, learn something, and do something great. And I will give this entire house and the land around it to that son who is the best. Now there was one option. All the three of them could go out and find the same things to do, and then they could have a competition. But that didn't work because each of them had different talents. They had different interests. They wanted to do different things. So the first son went out to the village and there he saw a blacksmith. A blacksmith is one who makes iron, who bends and warps and creates artifacts out of iron. So he looked at him. The blacksmith was using a huge hammer and going tap, tap. And in some time a beautiful iron cup came up in his hands. The first son was very thrilled. He went to the blacksmith and told him, will you teach me how to do it? Sure, I always need an assistant, said the blacksmith. And so the first son learned to be a blacksmith. And what an amazing blacksmith he became. Very soon, of course, the king needs blacksmiths because of all the weapons he uses. And he became the king's blacksmith. Now you would think that this person was sure to get the house. Well, you have to hear what the second son does. Now the second son went out a little bit further and he came across a barber. The barber was so expertly going tick 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 tick. He thought, this is so amazing. He went up to him and said, I have always liked to cut paper here like this, like this, like this, and have been very good at that. I am very steady with my hands. Do you think you could teach me your trade? Sure, said the barber. I always need assistants. And so he became the barber's assistant and learned how to become a barber. They say he was so good that there was a huge queue in front of his house every day. And of course, in no time, he became the king's barber. In those days, the kings were very powerful. So if you had to be the best, you had to be the best. You had to be with the king. Now you would think that the second son would surely get the house, but wait. The third son was not very good with his hands, neither did he have muscular strength. So what would he do? As he was walking through the city, he saw a fencing artist with a sword who was going chak, 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 chak. He was thrilled. He said, how are you managing to do that? My dear boy, it all comes by practice. You have to have a sharp focus and you have to let your hands follow your eyes. The master said, will you teach me? Well, I can if you agree to be a good disciple. Of course, the third son was an excellent disciple and soon he was a commander of the king's army. Now, when their father was very, very old and was almost going to pass away, the three sons came back. They all went up to their father and told him what they did. Their father was really proud of them. I am so happy that you all found your own profession to do and you're so good at it. But I still have my problem. Whom do I give this house to? Well, the first son said, let us have a test. And so they decided to have a test. How could they prove their skill in their profession? They could not have the same test for everyone. At that time, they saw a horse who was galloping by, a fine white steed. Quickly, the first son took up his tools, the hammer and the crucible and everything, and made a shoe that fit the leg of the running horse. And even as the horse was running, he fit the horse. Father was so proud. You, my son, are deserving of this house, he told him. But the second son said, wait. And so he looked around. How should he show his skill? There was a rabbit which was running, hopping and jumping all, and it was big, round, and so hairy. He said, wait. He quietly crept behind the rabbit and cut its hair so evenly, even as the rabbit ran all around the house. Father had to say, this is tough, I can't decide. Well, said the third son, wait. At that time, there was thunder and rain started falling. Raindrops started falling. And soon it was raining really heavily. Aha, said the third son, let me show you. He pulled out his sword and flourished it and swung his sword so neatly, turning it around his head and in front of him, such that even when the rain became heavier and heavier, not a drop of water fell on the blade. That was amazing. The father was now in the quandary. What do I do? All my 3 sons are equally good. He thought, this is tough. Then the 3 sons looked up at their father and told them, we just came back to be with you. We really don't need this house. We worked hard in our profession and today we are so good at it that we have all we need. It was just a matter of finding out what worked for us, and we would be really happy if you gave the house to all the 3 of us so that we could all live here together. And that was what they did. It was just a matter of finding out the profession that was a right fit for them. Isn't that true of all of us?